Yep.
Okay, I'm at ePortfolio 2006 conference, and I've managed to corner the upcoming boys band Elgg. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions on what you see as emerging within the learning technology space, and what role do you hope Elgg will play in those changes?
Okay, well, I can see what I would like to see happen is in learning technologies is for us to take advantage of all the really nice applications that are now available online. Things like your Flickr, your Delicious, and especially social networking, where learners can actually connect to one another, start taking control of their learning and their environments with which they learn in. Not seeing it really it's not having a huge impact yet, but I do think we're on that up curve, and hopefully Elgg will be one of the tools that can help at least promote this type of idea.
Now, when you start talking then about things like the learning landscape, which is I think the tagline that you've used for Elgg in the past, I think it's now modified to create, connect, and discover. Is that the new tagline?
Yeah.
So how does this relate to what's going on with other tools out there? What is your role if you're talking about Flickr and all these other tools and these blogging tools? What role do you want Elgg to play in that space? Do you want to be the centering agent for that digital lifestyle?
Essentially, I mean, if people are creating, our goal is basically to create, allow people to create a digital identity for themselves, and that should include all the work that they're doing elsewhere throughout the web, or using offline tools, or even out in the real world, and maybe capture using devices like the camera you're using there. And they should be able to draw it in and just use Elgg as a place to kind of store and maybe showcase and share some of the stuff that they're doing.
Okay. And it's worth noting, I mean, Elgg, there'll be plenty of people who don't need to use Elgg. I mean, if you're already comfortable with using online tools, if you have your Flickr account, your blog lines, your Delicious, and you're able to manage your own online content using these services, great. Elgg is maybe you may not have a need for it, and that's fine, but I think there's going to be plenty of people we're going to see coming through from even like conferences today who are not going to be able to go and log in and get 6 or 7 accounts. It's just going to be too overwhelming. So to have one place where they can come in, create an identity, and then start utilizing these other services and pulling them in could be quite powerful.
Yeah, 'cause one of the frustrations I often encounter is that when you start looking at what's going on with the learning technology space, there's such a high uptake now. For some of us who started with Gmail and who started with Yahoo way back when and who started with Flickr when it first came out, you already have an existing skill base. But for someone who's just learning about this stuff today, it's a huge challenge to be able to take everything on. So what's happening with Elgg Spaces, the soon-to-be released world premiere?
It's always about to be released. We're going to get there.
Almost there. Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's going to be available.
Well, yeah.
Essentially, we have the mechanism that allows people to host. I mean, it's a turnkey solution that lets people come onto a website, sign up, and instantly they've got their own Elgg community. And that mechanism exists, so we're ready to make that available to the public, but inevitably, because it's a business that takes in money, there's some legal things to sort out. We just need to handle all of that before we make it available.
And it was, I mean, the reason it came about was there was quite a lot of requests from especially schools who maybe didn't have the infrastructure or the support structure in place, so they wanted a hosted solution for this. And as well in higher ed, maybe a course or a classroom or something, not an institution-wide, but they couldn't go through the IT department, so they're like, well, is there somewhere we can go to just try this out, maybe pilot it for a couple of semesters, and that's why we did Elgg Spaces. And it's worth noting that one of the important things about Spaces is if people come on and set up their Elgg environment there, we have a service that will allow them, if at a later date they want to go and run it on their own servers, we can do that for them, which is a great thing of having an open source tool that actually powers the commercial hosted offering, because we can download it, configure it, and they can take their site off, which is quite a unique selling point, I think.
I'd quite like to just very quickly add to that it's not just about bypassing IT departments. A lot of IT departments are actually overstretched, and I've certainly been in contact with a lot of people directly from IT departments who would really like to use the service, just so they can concentrate on other things. And maybe later on, they'll move to their own hosted Elgg installation, we can move the data over, but for now they just want to trial it in a very low friction kind of way.
Great. And last question then is what are we going to see from Elgg in the future? What kinds of things do you have in your cooking pot of innovation? As I said during the conference here, you started off on a trail that other ePortfolio providers haven't really started on that journey yet, and you're already several years down the road. So obviously you're driving innovation within the ePortfolio space, and I'd love to hear what some of your visions are for Elgg in the future. Not to blindside you.
No. Well, the first one, which will be released quite soon, is the new presentation tool. And the reason this has come about has been, again, from demand from users. This is one of the things we've done with Elgg, and why we opened up so early, was to be able to capture how people were using the system and then adapt and build tools that were needed. But the presentation tool will effectively allow learners to create snapshots for any particular purpose of some type of content or growth that has occurred within a fluid environment like Elgg, and then be able to present this to a tutor or whoever would be requiring it. So that's one thing that we're quite excited about. I think that's going to really it'll make that bridge, I think, for many of people that were at this sort of conference between what they traditionally would expect and then a very open social networking type environment. It gives them some point of reference, to be able to say, all right, I can see how I could get this growth, capture it, and actually apply some of my, this how that my rubric could apply to this or vice versa.
Another thing might be single sign-on mechanisms entering Elgg. For example, we will be using it in Elgg spaces. So, say one school is there and pupils want to connect to the other school, just use the single sign-on mechanism and they can interact without the hassle of extra logins or registration pages. It's done. It's there. It should be good.
It's not just single sign-on between Elggs, it's also we've got Elgg and other systems working together through open standards. So someone can log in using their Elgg profile into, for example, Moodle. And more than that, also then search from within Elgg and see items that they have within Moodle. And so on. We've got single log-on, so you can actually string a whole bunch of different applications loosely together to form one bigger whole with more functionality.
Yeah, very exciting.
Okay, well, thanks very much for your time. Certainly enjoyed the innovations you brought to the portfolio space and looking forward to more of what you have to offer.